short phone call.
Well, can you make that phone call shortly? I'll pay for it.
Now that is a switch. Okay, baby. Let's
go.
Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming with you guys. Wait for me. Wait. Look, Damien, this guy wants roast beef.
What?
This woman is a vegetarian. Be careful.
Mrs. Saxon?
Thank you, Spencer. And what is the weather offering us out there today?
It's overcast and very cold.
I'd feel better if I could see a crocus.
I'm sure I would, too.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nora.
I'm on my way to do some shopping. I should be back by noon.
Oh, then I wonder if I might trouble you to stop by my attorney's office and pick up some papers. He's on Evergreen Drive.
I'm sorry, but it's out of my way.
I see. Nora, I realize that you are Mrs. Whitney's secretary and not mine. But since I also am a member of this household, I would think you could be a bit more accommodating. I'm sure that if Mrs. Whitney were here, she would agree.
Well, you should ask her when she returns, Mrs. Saxon. Excuse me.
Nora, one moment. That jacket you're wearing, I believe that's Mrs. Whitney's, isn't it?
Yes. Mrs. Whitney told me I could wear it while she's gone.
Then that's something else I'll have to ask her when she returns.
You are a fool to make so many enemies in this house, Nora. Would you care for something else, Mrs. Saxon?
No, Spencer, thank you.
Hello?
Nicole, it's Geraldine.
Oh, good morning, Geraldine. How are you?
I'm just fine, dear, just fine. You on your way to the studio?
Yes, in about 5 minutes. Is there something I can do for you?
I just wondered if you had time. You might stop by my office sometime today. I'd like to talk to you about your former secretary.
What a spooky place. Will you look at all this stuff? I don't think anybody's been here in years.
Except a few million ghosts.
No, it's too small.
Hey, look at you guys. It's an old courtroom. A lot of human drama was happening in here. I'm gonna go and explore.
Don't get lost. Dust.
State your name and your occupation.
Clifford Nelson, attorney at law.
Employed?
No.
Why not?
Ask Raven Whitney.
I see here you have been charged with assault and battery. Against whom?
Raven Whitney.
Hey, don't you know it's not nice to hit a woman?
That's what all the women say. It's not nice to hit a lady. Raven Whitney's no lady. She wasn't a lady when she ruined Calvin Stoner's marriage. She wasn't a lady when she ruined Mitzi Martin's dreams of being an actress. She wasn't a lady when she ruined Clifford Nelson's law career. She's no lady. You just don't know Raven Whitney.
So are you guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
I say you're guilty.
For a jury to decide, a jury of my peers. That's 12 men.
You can tell it to the judge, Buster.
Hey, I'm not guilty.
Hey, you guys, it's incredible downstairs. You ought to see it. They've got cell blocks and they've got storerooms. It's just amazing. But as for making it a theater, it's impossible. You should see the walls are so thick. We'd have to build a proscenium. We'd have to put in seats. We'd have to build a stage.
Well, how much?
Oh, at least $200,000.
Oh.
Very much, huh?
Yeah. I got some pictures for Hector. I'm sure he'll say the same thing.
I wish we had a picture of Raven Whitney. Belongs up here. Put her down in one of those jail cells and throw away the key for what she did to us.
Hello? Yes, thank you. Allgemeines Krankenhaus? Frau Ziegler, bitte? Ja, Helga Ziegler. Danke. Helga? Grüß Gott, hier ist Libby Webster. Dirk Krankemann. Vilket ist He what? Nein, nein. Oh, my God.
Someone I want you to meet. Oh, but I know Miss Fulton.
Oh, that's right. You probably met her at the studio with Nicole.
Although the last time we had a visit was right here, wasn't it?
Oh, really? Yes. I was here visiting Spencer, Mr. Varney.
I recall that visit very well. You had some unusual things to say about the Kavanaugh domestic situation.
Oh, really? What?
Really. It wouldn't be discreet to ask Miss Fulton to discuss her employers.
Former employers. She now works for me.
Why?
She's my new private secretary. Isn't that great?
When did that happen?
I decided the other job just wasn't for me, Mrs. Saxon. Not because of the friction in the household, but because I had to spend so much time at the studio.
Yes, I spend considerable time there myself.
Oh, I didn't mind that, of course. It's just that I prefer working in a private home.
And now you'll be working in this home.
That's right. I decided that a woman in my position needs a private secretary.
May I drive you to work, Mrs. Saxon?
No, thank you, Spencer. I'll take my own car this morning. However, you might answer one or two questions for me, if you will.
I'll certainly try, of course.
Tell me, how much do you know about Nora Fulton?
Actually, very little, I'm afraid.
You had worked with her before, I believe you said.
Yes.
And how long ago was that?
2 or 3 years. But even though we were employed by the same household, I never really knew her that well.
Still, you recommended her for this job.
As I remembered, Mrs. Saxon, I believed her work to be satisfactory to our previous employer.
I must say, she seemed rather insolent this morning. Well, perhaps that's too harsh a word. I was just wondering if there was something wrong.
Well, I shouldn't say anything.
Oh, come now, Spencer. If you have an opinion, feel free to express it.
Perhaps it's just that she's responding to her new station in life. You see, she was never more than a maidservant before she became a private secretary to Mrs. Kavanaugh and now to Mrs. Whitney. I'm afraid she has a higher opinion of herself and her importance.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that's only my opinion. There may be something else that would explain her discourtesy this morning.
Well, Spencer, I'm always delighted when someone advances in this world. But when they do, I see no reason to leave common courtesy behind. And now, after that lofty bit of philosophy, I'm going to the station.
Yes, ma'am. Whitney residence.
It's Libby. Spencer, I've got some very bad news. He's left the hospital. He simply walked out one day, and nobody knows where he's gone.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
Val, I'm sorry. Did I scare you? The door was open. I just came in.
Don't worry about it. I always leave it open.
Maybe you ought to change your mind about that open door policy, especially after dark. You don't know who's going to wander in here.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
I guess I should have called myself before I came over. I was just depending on luck that you'd be here. I mean, I am your neighbor, even if that's all I am to you.
Yeah.
Well, I do have some business. I brought some pictures over that aren't definitive enough, and I was wondering if you would enlarge them for me.
Oh, not more pictures of the Whitney.
No, far from it. In fact, about 4 miles east and a million miles away in other ways.
A police station?
Yeah, it's the 52nd Street Precinct House. Isn't it a nice old building? It must have been built in the turn of the century.